Story number 11. A great business lesson from the three lords. When mentioning stories of successful business, one cannot overlook the story of the three lords. The content of the story is as follows. Long ago, in a small village, people lived together very harmoniously and happily. However, surrounding the village were three lords who had the ambition to invade and conquer it. On a beautiful day, the first lord came to the village and said to the villagers, "All of you, follow me. I will protect you and give you everything from clothes and food to wine. I will provide for you fully and let you lack nothing. I will even grant you jobs with high salaries to help the village develop more and more." Afterward, the second lord also came and said to the villagers, "If you agree to follow me, I will give you a life of happiness and freedom, where you can freely do what you like. I will build you many playgrounds, singing houses, and libraries. In general, I will help you have a full, prosperous, and happy life." Different from the two lords above, when the final lord approached the village, he did not say a word. The first thing he did was order his soldiers to beat the villagers until they were near death. Then he said, "You all are so weak and submissive. If someone else attacked you as I am doing, what would you do to protect yourselves? Answer me." In the end, none of the lords conquered the village. The villagers did not choose to follow anyone but decided to build the village themselves to obtain all three things the three lords had mentioned. Lessons learned. In the process of doing business, to be successful, you must have three things: money to invest and build, constantly upgrade and improve yourself through entertainment, artistic, and spiritual activities, bravery and courage, not being submissive, daring to stand up to protect others, and daring to dedicate yourself fully. Story number 12. The Single Girl and the Handsome Guy. On a beautiful day, a longtime single girl named H ran to the police station to report a crime as follows. "This afternoon, I was robbed of 4 million Vietnamese dongs by a handsome guy standing next to me on the bus. And then he ran away. Even though I tucked it carefully inside my bra, he took advantage of the crowd to steal it." The policeman asked in surprise, "Wait, how could he take your money from such a sensitive spot? You should have known immediately when he was taking it, shouldn't you?" The girl replied shyly, "I didn't think all he wanted was to dig for money." Business lesson learned. For a business person to be successful, they must be someone who can extract money from customers while making them feel most pleasured. Story number 13. The Only Beggar. In a small alley, a group of people were lying together sunbathing when a wealthy merchant suddenly appeared and asked the beggars, "If you had one wish, what would you wish for?" At this moment, some among the beggars wished to become tycoons. Some wished to marry a wealthy spouse, and others wished to have food without having to work. Only one person made a very strange wish: "I wish to be the only beggar in this city." Upon hearing this wish, the merchant asked, "Why do you wish for that?" And he replied, "Because if I am the only beggar, all the money from the kind people in this city will be meant only for me." Recognizing the intelligence and different way of thinking of this beggar, the wealthy merchant took him in to work for him. Additionally, he was gifted a lot of food, clothes, and money. Lesson learned. Business can make you rich quickly, but it is also an extremely fierce competitive market. For a business to succeed and survive long-term, it needs to create valuable products. In the business market, you must find different paths to break through and compete with rivals in the same industry. Story number 14. A humorous business story about an engineer and a manager. The next story in the top meaningful business stories we want to share with you is the story of an engineer and a manager. Specifically, the story goes as follows. A man was feeling a bit panicked and lost while in a hot air balloon. Therefore, he lowered his balloon to talk to a man directly below him. He said, "Can you tell me where I am right now?" The man below replied, "You are currently in a hot air balloon hovering about 20 meters above the ground." After hearing the answer, the man in the balloon said, "I am sure you must be a technician." The man below replied, "That's right. How did you know?" In a warmer voice, the man in the balloon said, "What you just said is only related to technicalities. And in fact, it is of no use to me." After hearing such an answer, the man below replied, "It seems you are a manager." At this point, the man in the balloon spoke back with curiosity, "Well, how did you find out my position?" While walking, the man working as an engineer below said, "You don't know where you are or where you are going. But you expect that I can help you. That is what managers often do." Lesson learned in business. If you want to be successful, you should not rush to conclude anything. Besides, you must also clearly define the direction and business purpose to recruit suitable personnel and have a correct operating strategy. Story number 15, the story of the lazy worker. A company director was conducting a surprise inspection to check the performance of his employees. He walked along the factory gates and saw a man sitting sluggishly in one of the guard booths. He approached the man and asked, "How much do you earn per week?" The man replied, "I am paid 800,000 VND per week." The company director felt annoyed, took money out of his wallet, and said, "Take this 500,000. Go, and never return to this factory again." After that, he turned to ask his supervisor, "How long has that person been working in this factory?" The supervisor replied, "He doesn't work for us. He is just a food delivery person." The company director was astonished. What? Business lesson learned in business. One should not rush to make any decision without full information. Gather sufficient information before deciding to avoid unnecessary risks and losses. Besides, one must also be cautious and flexible in the way they treat and communicate with both customers and employees. Story number 16, the roasted chicken seller. There was a man who worked as a roasted chicken seller, and he always prided himself on being an extremely good worker. One day, he was happy about his extremely good working day, coming to the last chicken to sell to a customer. He lifted it onto the scale and turned to say to the customer, "This one is $6.35, which is a reasonable price. But this one is a bit small." The buyer replied, "Don't you have any larger ones?" After the customer asked that, he thought for a moment and then quickly put the chicken back into the food cabinet, after pausing for a few seconds. He took it out again and said, "This one is a bit heavier. The price is $6.65. The chicken seller replied timidly. At this point, the woman thought for a while and then decided, "Oh, I've got it. I'll take both of them." Lesson learned in business. The minimum factor that must be met is honesty. Absolutely do not deceive customers because you never know how a customer's behavior will be. Honesty helps you build trust and maintain a loyal customer base. Conclusion. Hopefully, the article has given you a positive perspective on your business through these great business stories.